When you're creating your layering assignment, you want to work with 4 or 5 images that are the exact same image printed 4 or 5 times. And then you want to layer it based on distance, or cut it out based on distance. The back layer should include everything. Then as you go forward, more and more things are cut away so that it looks like distance. So if you look at this here, you have a tree plus the ground it sits on and some of the fence. The next layer in includes more of the ground in this tree, and ideally it would include this tree as well, but because this is such a busy print, they chose not to include everything, but you can really see the depth using the floor. What you want to avoid are things like image like this, where it's just random objects. Nothing seems to be really based on distance. There's nothing behind some of the pieces in the front, so you don't get a sense of depth. Or this one, which has the images, but you've got a car from way back here that's 4 layers deep. You've got a car that's closer that's only 3 layers deep. You've got holes in the background. So this is not, there's some layering going on here, but it's not really based on distance or anything. So when we're talking layers based on distance, so we look at this one here, and we'll rotate that a little bit so you can look into the box. You can see it at different angles. So you have here, you have a front car right here. Then you have a second car that includes the ground that it sits on. You have a third car, again, including the ground that it sits on. A fourth car that includes the ground that it sits on. And lastly, the background. So you can really see those layers. So again, one last time here, if we have this image, there's one more. If you have this image and you've got the buildings, and so you got the background and the sky and the buildings, then the next layer up includes the tree and the trucks in the foreground. And then the next layer, you would just cut out no tree anymore, but just the buildings and the trucks. And there's a little bit of cardboard on the back. So when I pop that in, now I get a next layer. And then the front layer would be just the trucks without the tree, and again with some cardboard, and I pop that in, and now you can see that I have an image that has multiple layers and it has some nice depth to it. And obviously I don't want it to fall apart now, but ideally this will all line up, and then you have your 1, 2, 3, 4 different layers inside that image. Then the last thing to actually make that box, if you take a piece of cardboard like this here, and this is my example, and you take your image, take it this large, and then cut out of a square. I cut out of a big piece and leave an edge all the way around the outside, and then score the cardboard around the edges of the picture, and just score the top layer of the cardboard, but not all the way through. Then what you can do is you just fold it over the other way, and it comes together, and you get a nice square box like this, where you can then pop your image in. So then your image will fit size-wise, and you make a nice box, and you just put tape around the outside, and you get your box for layering.